Welcome everyone to the SSR77 review. This is a blaster that me and Corbin have both been very excited about and we can't wait to get into it, so we're gonna hop right in with an unboxing. All right guys, so here we have the SSR77 A2 and the box here is actually a little bit smaller than the overall length of the platform. That's because when they pack it, they have it disassembled. So there is a little bit of assembly we'll get into later, but first I just want to show you, if I can get this open, what comes inside of the box. So first things first, we have the instructional pamphlet, which we'll set to the side for now. We have what looks like the upper assembly, which is the barrel and handguard, and the hop-up unit on that back end over there, as well as the lower receiver, the magazine, and somewhere in here I know there's a cleaning rod, so we'll just add that to the pile of other ones we have. One more thing to consider is the safety pamphlet. It's mostly your typical airsoft instructions, as well as some info about the model itself. The biggest thing you're going to need is the programming guide, the programming cheat sheet, which we'll get to later, and there's also a full video library on the back through the QR code. So, all right guys, so we're going to get into the specs for all of you nerds out there. I've got a long list of bulleted notes over here, so I'm just going to run through these as quick as possible. Firstly, we've got the reinforced nylon polymer body, pretty standard for your airsoft AEGs. It feels very solid, very good. We've got the programmable ETU, which we will explain more on that later, how to program your trigger. The CNC hop-up, feeding chamber, and nozzle allow for smooth feeding and a little bit of a better air seal for your AEG performance. Overall, CNC parts are just more reliable, and also it sounds cool on the marketing. Our motor that we're working with here is a 24K neodymium magnet high torque motor. They claim that it can shoot at roughly 23 rounds per second with an 11.1 LiPo battery. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be able to do that. Moving on to the gearbox, we have the gearbox assembly is more CNC aluminum parts. We've got a CNC aluminum piston head, nozzle, cylinder head, as well as a steel cylinder and full-length steel piston teeth. For those of you who don't know a lot about gearboxes, basically what all of those words mean is that the moving parts and the parts that are going to be under tension and under pressure are made out of solid CNC pieces of aluminum or steel, which is, as far as airsoft is concerned, very durable. It should last you a very long time. The lifespan of that gearbox should be considerably longer than most entry-level AEGs. That's all with the 11.1 LiPo battery. So speaking of the battery, this blaster is equipped with a T-Deans style connector. This is good for extended periods of use. So you see a lot of times guys who go to milsims and they're firing multiple rounds for long periods of time. They're stuck in firefights, or even if you're just a very aggressive player on weekend games, sometimes the small Tamiya connectors will melt because they overheat. The T-Dean style ones are a lot more resilient when it comes to heat and just have a better resistance on the flow of energy. Next, we have the quick change spring system. That's becoming more and more common. I think at this point it's surprising when a AEG doesn't have that. Let's see here. We have with the barrel CNC machined aluminum outer barrel. They say it's precision machined, which we'll get into kind of what that means when we get into the assembly of this, but it does make a difference. For the inner barrel, we have a 6.03 457 millimeter, what looks like some form of maybe like polished brass. I couldn't find any info that says exactly what the material it's made out of is, but they do talk a little bit about the enlarged window so that the hop-up nub can make better contact with the BBs, and it is a flat hop system. I think it talks about that somewhere in here. We also have, you know, like I said with the A2, a Picatinny and M-Lock handguard. And then overall, the entire system is just, it's just very modular. There's a lot of customization options. Novritsch sells a lot of parts for it. And as far as I know, it is interchangeable with many other variants of the AUG on the market, maybe not all of them. And then the very last thing, I guess talking more about the hop-up, would be that it is a flat hop system, like I said, along with an infinity flat hop bucking, which is basically just means that there's no nub or lip built into the bucking itself. So you can theoretically just rotate it after it gets worn down, and you can put it on in any orientation and it should still function. So the idea is just that you can continue to rotate that over the years and have a lot longer lifespan on it. So in true Novritsch fashion, very well thought out with the consumer or airsoft player in mind. But yeah, so that's all the specs that we're going to cover. Next, we're going to move into the actual assembly and overview of the blaster and its features. All right, so now that we've got those specs out of the way, I'm going to show you guys how to assemble the blaster. And I'm going to try to keep everything center here so that we get our top-down perspective well. You have two parts, right? So you have your upper receiver and your lower receiver. The first thing you want to do is make sure that there's no mag in the mag well, because if you have a mag in there, it actually pushes up a little bit on the feeding tube and can push that into the way of your hop-up unit, and basically it's just you can damage the feeding tube and cause feeding issues if there's a mag in there while you're doing this. The next thing you're going to do is lock the charging handle to the rear, take your barrel, orient it how it would fit once the blaster is completed, and then you're going to slowly slide the outer barrel in. One complaint that Corbin and I have had with this is that it is exceptionally tight and hard to get on there. You'll see there's a little nub. There's a little nub right there that we have to get perfectly into this, I don't know, crevasse basically. And that's the locking mechanism. So we're going to slowly, carefully push that in. It's very, very, very tight because of the precision machining. And then once it's in, it twists into place and it locks with this right here. So now that that's done, you guys have an assembled SSR77. It
kind of looks like the...
it kind of looks like an AUG, right?
I was gonna say it looks like the plasma rifle from Aliens.
Dude, it actually kind of does. I love this. We're gonna get into everything about it, but that machined precision machining on the outer barrel is good because it means there's no barrel warp or shaking, or everything's locked in. It's solid. It doesn't feel loose, but it also means that it's very hard to get in and out. So I don't encourage people to take this on and off every time they go to the field. Once you have it on, leave it on unless you need to disassemble it for cleaning or other purposes. All right, so now that we have it assembled, I'm going to just go over a kind of general overview of the feeling and overall features of this blaster. So to begin with, the construction of the polymer is very solid. It feels good. the metal handguard and upper receiver really add a lot to it. And it's very well weighted, very well balanced. It's not front heavy at all. I would say if anything, it leans a little bit more back, but not by much. So when you're shouldering it, you can kind of keep it up and on target for a much longer time than you can with some AK platforms and things of that nature. The biggest complaint I have with this is that the charging handle is kind of light and loose and just, I don't know, it feels like an airsoft charging handle, but this on a solid, like well-weighted body just feels out of place. So I wouldn't say there's necessarily anything wrong with it in the sense of airsoft, but it's not as satisfying as I want it to be compared to the rest of the blasters. Just a couple of quick things I want to highlight as well here on the front end while talking about the charging handle is the handguard. Like I said, it's very solid, CNC aluminum. The M-lock on there is very nice feature. The Picatinny on top, super easy to throw on attachments. What I love is that the handguard up to like right there, that's kind of where the block of the handguard is kind of attached to the core of the upper assembly. You can remove these screws, take that off, and remove your outer barrel. So you can actually add a longer barrel or a short barrel, and there's photos on the website of them like shortening it down to here and then adding like an integral suppressor inside of that handguard. I love that because I have very long arms, and for me to run any CQB platform, I'm always like up here, you know, trying to, on a short platform, I'm always like up, choked up, it's uncomfortable, hurts my wrist. This is allowing me to have my arm at a somewhat more comfortable standard angle while maintaining a shorter platform if I were to shorten that barrel. And on top of that, because you have your gearbox and everything in the mag back here, your inner barrel is reaching from round about here up to, you know, right now it's up here, but if you were to shorten it right there. So that's a longer barrel, more reach for my arm, and still a shorter platform. Even with this how it is right now, I can go through doorways sideways. We were testing, I can lean in through a doorway and check. Not that I necessarily would, but it's just very maneuverable. I guess we'll kind of move backwards. We've got our quick detach points. There are 5 of them on the A2, 1 in the front here, 1 on each side here, and then 1 on the back of the stock on either side there. With the gearbox and everything being in the rear of the blaster, I'll go ahead and show you with the battery compartment. There's not a lot of room. So to take the cover off, if I can get it, I was going to try to show it on the phone, but I think I need a little bit more space here. They say to press your thumb against the side and basically just pop it off to the side. It's the easiest way to get it off because it's just like a piece of rubber. Inside of there, you'll see a BB. That's probably from us when we were testing it. There's no depth. So finding a battery for this is very difficult. Most stick batteries don't fit. And most brick batteries on Amazon and other places are for RC cars, so the discharge rate is way too high. Novritsch does sell batteries. I wouldn't say they're necessarily cheap, but they're not like overpriced. So you can go with the ones that he recommends. You can also take your chances and try to find one elsewhere. But yeah, with the gearbox being so close, and you can kind of see the quick change spring system is down in there as well. I don't know if it's going to grab.
There it is.
There it is. That's where you change out your spring. Yeah, it's just a little bit more difficult to get your batteries in there. Then to put the cover back on, and this part always kicks my butt, slide the top in, then bend it to where the bottom slides in. Basically want to get both ends locked into the blaster. And then tap the sides back in. And it's just a piece of rubber. It stays in there, doesn't fall out while you're playing. I mean, you can see how difficult it is. You have to try to get it off. So overall, very great construction. I'm super happy with it. We'll obviously get into the performance review later in the video. I think what we're going to do next is there's some complications here with figuring out how to program it because there is no fire select. So I'm going to swap off with Corbin and let him explain to you guys how he programmed the trigger.
All right, so I am holding it like this for a particular reason, but I've got a battery in the back. Since we don't have one that actually works in this blaster yet, it is on its way via Amazon. We just have a Titan plugged in. It's the battery that we have that is Dean's. And I'm just going to walk through how to program the ETU in this thing. It's a little bit complicated. There is no fire select on this. It's the first thing. Boy howdy, did we have a time trying to figure that out. So there's no fire select on this. What you're going to have to do is go through the programming of the ETU in order to, kind of set some of that. It's a, what's the ramping trigger? Is that what it's a ramping trigger. So we have it programmed because I had to do some testing on this, but basically you've got two stages to this trigger. There is your half pull, and then there's a full pull after that. Right now it's in semi-only binary. So when I release this, it'll go again, but initially when you first get it out of the box, it's going to be half pull is semi, half pull is semi, and then the full pull is full auto. So you're gonna find yourself in a situation where you go to shoot somebody and you just fully blast them with BBs. And they may be upset at you, so don't do that. So I'm gonna walk you through how to program it. Basically, you in fire on the fire select, you put it into fire and you go to half pull for 20 seconds.
That's such a long time. We're gonna have to speed it up.
Should hear 3 long beeps. 2 long beeps, sorry. So that's a short beep, 2 short beeps, 3 short beeps. It's gonna do that again. And basically what that's doing is it's getting us into the next level of programming. It's 3 modes, I think. So just trying to see what the difference is between these two. So there's different things, right? If I stop at the first beep, I just hold the trigger to confirm. It'll give me 1 long beep, and then it'll go back to the sequence. First, in this first mode, 1 beep is semi on semi, 2 beeps is binary on semi, 3 beeps is 3 burst mode on semi. So that was 3. I want, let's see. That's 1 beep, I want binary. So that's 2. I hold the trigger, get 2 long beeps. Now I'm programmed to binary on that semi. Now it's still, when you do this out of the box, it'll still be a 2-stage trigger. So even though this is binary, you are still gonna have a full auto when you fully pull that trigger. So the way to do that is to go through the same thing. So hold the trigger for 20 seconds. How you guys doing today? You alright? Doing good? Just, yeah, whoever. Okay. So that's 1 beep, 2 beeps. I'm gonna go there for the 1 long beep. Now that's 1 beep on this mode is full auto on full auto for the full trigger pull. 2 beeps is 3 burst on full auto, and then 3 beeps is no full auto, just semi only. So we have semi or full auto turned off right now. I'm gonna go to 3-round burst on full auto. So there's the second beep. And then I hold the trigger to confirm, get my 2 long beeps, and now I'm binary and semi, and then semi, that's a 3-round burst, and then binary again. So
that's crazy.
Effectively, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 BBs being fired in 1 full trigger pull.
Do like a just quick trigger pull. That's so stupid. We can't keep doing that. We're gonna break something.
You
look,
think?
Look at the barrel stock all scrunched up.
So we've got it now in a binary on semi-auto. So semi-auto being the half pull on the trigger, and then we've got a 3-round burst on the full trigger pull, and then we release it, and we'll get a last shot from the binary. I don't know what the benefit of running it in this configuration would be. Maybe if, like, you know, if your field is cheater heavy, you hit them with the, and they don't call it, you hit them with the, and then if they still don't call it, you can follow it up. Or like if his buddy sticks his head out, be like, "Oh, where'd you get shot from?" And then he's done too. I feel like giving it that, like, is going to be really bad over time for it. So I don't know what that would do. I mean, just thinking about like gearboxes and gears and how they work and stuff, I can't imagine that, you know, extended use on that setting is going to be necessarily beneficial for your blaster.
That's probably why they have those steel piston teeth.
Could be why they have the steel piston teeth. But regardless, that is how the trigger is programmed. The booklet has a full breakdown on how to do this. It was a little bit confusing at first read, but once I kind of like understood what it was saying, the information of to get into the programming, you have to hold the trigger down for 20 seconds was our hurdle. Once we figured that out, and that was just through scanning the thing on the back and going to the virtual academy and watching Novritsch break this thing down and say, the way you do it is you hold it down and you wait for 20 seconds and then, yeah. So, but that's why you're here, is that you don't have to spend 20 minutes figuring that out. We did it already. We did it for you. So, yeah, once you get into that programming mode, this chart starts to make a lot more sense. And yeah, so I would say just play around, experiment with it, and figure out which mode works best for you and have a fantastic time doing it. But I think now I'm going to take it out back and Chrono it and see how good it does. See what its range is like.
All right, we're here with the SSR77 A2, the Novritsch AUG. We are just going to give it a quick Chrono test. I've got the Chrono here. We're going to give it 5 shots, see how it does, and we'll see how it does. All right, here we go. This is the easiest blaster I've ever had to Chrono before. First shot. Oh, actually, that was 2 shots. The first, well, it only read 1, so first shot is 1.5 joules at 401.7 FPS. This is with 0.2s. Second shot, 152 at 404.6. 155 at 408.7. It didn't read that one. 156 at 409.7. And 151 at 402.6. So pretty consistent, right around that, you know, between like 400 to seems like 406, 410 maybe might be the max. Kind of high on the joule limit for a DMR setup, which we've got it kind of configured in right now with the scope on there. Not bad. We'll get into the field review after this, but very consistent, very snappy. Yeah, very, very pleased with these results.
All right, everyone, so we're going to get into the field review here and just cover the blaster's performance. We play tested this over the course of a few weekends, and we're trying something new with some of this GoPro footage along with some Novritsch scope cam clips as well, to just kind of highlight some of the things we thought this blaster did well and some areas we think it could use some improvement on. So first things first, we definitely were a big fan of how the blaster is weighted It carries most of its weight in the back. We mentioned this earlier when doing the unboxing portion, but it's very well balanced. We noticed once we added the cameras and other attachments on, it did start to get a little bit more front heavy, but it was very easy to shoulder this platform and use it continuously throughout the day. Another big win for us, we felt like, was the high fire rate when using this blaster in binary or even burst fire. It is very, very quick. The motor is very fast. It's very snappy, and this was super helpful when trying to suppress other players or maybe take some ground rather quickly. You can put a lot of BBs down range in a very short amount of time. Along with that, in sort of a similar vein, was the speed at which the BBs travel. We were running .25s for some of the close quarter CQB games, as well as some 3.2s for longer distance stuff, and threw on a 2x magnified scope to kind of test how effective this would be at a distance. And in all scenarios, the BBs were traveling very fast. We noticed that we were able to get shots off and on target very quickly, especially when people are kind of quick peeking around corners. And there was a few times where we actually got people just like by the edge of their elbow as they barely leaned out of cover. And talking a little bit more about the effective range of this blaster, like I said, we were using .32s. I think you could hop something even a little bit heavier. It definitely isn't like sniper range, but it gets pretty close. There's not much that will compete with a dedicated like bolt action spring sniper with nice upgrades, but for a $350 AEG, this thing was reaching out there. I want to say it was close to 200 plus feet that we were hitting shots fairly consistently. I mean, it reached far beyond any distances that we play at in our weekend pickup games, and many of the people out there who are running even more expensive platforms do not have this same level of accuracy at the distances we were shooting at. You can see here in some of these clips as Corbin continued to walk out further and further. We were just very, very surprised with how well-rounded this blaster is at the $350 price point. I mean, we were using it in CQB, we were doing some fast-paced gameplay, getting up into the action, and we were also doing some more long-distance shooting. And overall, I think it is the perfect setup for someone who wants to have a little bit of everything and not have to break the bank. Getting into some negative feedback or constructive criticism, there really is not much outside of what we mentioned with the charging handle feeling a little bit cheap compared to the rest of the blaster. We loved it. Everyone else loved it on the field, and it is definitely one of my new favorites. We're already talking about getting an A1 to test out and see if there's any differences, as well as just we would love to have that more traditional looking AUG. I would highly recommend, if you are looking to spend somewhere between $300 to $400 on a airsoft replica, or if you're just getting into airsoft now, this is definitely a good investment. We always talk about getting like into the cheaper side of things for new players. You can get a Lancer Gen 3, which has most of the basic bells and whistles that you're going to upgrade anyways. Those are close to this price point. This is obviously a little bit higher, but I think it's worth it to save up a little bit extra money, spend that to have a better investment. And this platform is really fun to run once you can get used to the bullpup nature of reloading and maneuvering around. But yeah, overall, we love this, and we would definitely recommend it to you guys.
Are we going? Certainly not, right?
I like the little circle. It's hot.
Huh?
It's bubbly.
Yeah, to protect it. Oh, geez. Okay, God.